Hi friends, I'm Kelsey. Thanks for stopping by my channel today, and I am just filming the intro for my girls trip I was on. That was last weekend. It is now Saturday, so it's been about a week. I had a video planned, but it didn't want to download, so just quickly filming this part before you see part 2 of my kind of what I brought with me video. But I got this hat on my girls trip when we were shopping, and I'm obsessed with it. It's made by a woman. This shop was all women-owned, recycled, sustainable products, and I needed a new hat for soccer season, so I was pretty excited about that. But anyway, so we rented this cabin with a bunch of my book club best friends. I'll talk about that more later, but I wanted to talk about the books that I brought. So of course, this was kind of a reading retreat, but also a girls trip. So wasn't a ton of reading that we were probably gonna get done, but we do actually prioritize some reading. So I knew I would do some reading. So I brought my Kindle because I had Take the Lead by Alexis Daria that I needed to read because it published on the 14th, and I had a review copy. And then you're gonna hear my son is upstairs, and we're trying to get him to eat lunch so that he can nap, and he's not the happiest camper right now. But anyways, so then I brought that, and then I brought Babel because I'm slowly reading that. I brought Take My Hand. I brought a Harlequin romance novel, which you're gonna see, I'm gonna talk about it in the next one. And then you'll see a bit of my friend Carrie doing her PowerPoint presentation because she is hilarious and was deeply committed to this PowerPoint presentation to the point of putting in her credit card on a bad website to try to get it to stream to this TV at our cabin. It was really funny, especially because she's the most financially responsible person I know, but she was so committed to getting this PowerPoint to work. So, I brought quite the stack of books, and we acquired more, and then one of our friends gave us more books just from some stuff that she does. So I had quite the stack of books to pick from, and you will see that here in the video, but I just wanted to film this intro real fast before I forgot, and so that I can get this video up. So my book is by Marlene Loveless, and it's called The Spy Who Loved Him, and I think the subtitle is A Year of Loving Dangerously, but I can't actually decide. So there's my fabulous romance novel. I'm going to read it on the drive over because I'm not driving, and I'm going to give my live thoughts that night. We're supposed to do a book report PowerPoint, but a lot of us aren't going to do that. We'll just do our own thing. The main character is Margarita. This is a romantic suspense. And this was published in 2001, so it's 22 years old. There's a map, which you don't really get in romance novels, so I'm just interested. More to come on this. But then we do actually read on this book club trip, even though some people in my book club say we don't, but we do. I read one book last year, and actually I think I read 2. But on Saturday, we will definitely be reading. I read a lot in the morning, so I'm bringing a few books. I'm bringing Kitchens of the Great Midwest, Recursion by Blake Crouch, Take My Hand, and then A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. I'm also bringing Babel, and then I have my Kindle, so I've got, a million options on there. I'm gonna mood read, and it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fun, but I also wanted to pick books that I actually wanted to read this month to get off my shelves. So 2 of these are recommended by 12 friends, and yeah. So that is that, and you will get a lot of footage from our trip where we're going out to eat, going to any bookstores, the cabin. I'll probably pop in a few times with my thoughts. Last year, we did throw a lot of shade at people for being Instagrammers in the wild. I'm sure that will happen again. My friend Marty is also on BookTube, so you should give her a follow. Her channel is Let's Talk About Books Baby, and I'll link her down below. She's also in my book club, so follow her. You'll see more in this vlog. Bye, guys.
I looked for this
the
like
plot
every
is
there
there
one.
out there.
We're introduced to our main character Claire and codename Lightning.
All right, so I'm back from my girls trip, and I have a lot of footage from my girls trip. The house we stayed in was absolutely beautiful, and it was just a really nice place to stay. My book club is a group of 9 women, and we met via Instagram, and then we become really good friends. And so it was kind of fun because there were so many people in the group that we were able to break away on Friday, and we went hopping around different bookstores in the area. There's 3 towns that are kind of close to each other, so we were able to hit a bunch of bookstores for the people that wanted to participate, and it was just such a joy. We went to like a pretty namesake bookstore in this city, but then we also discovered this other bookstore, and we walk right in and there's just a man with a cat going, "What are you guys up to?" And we ended up staying there for like an hour and a half just talking with him, and we helped his Facebook page get back to 1,000 likes or followers after it had been hacked. So he gave us all 20% off, and we just had such a fun time. The girls that I was with that day and what we were doing, we just made so many like core memories for our group, and it was so great. And we had just a blast. And then the next day we did a lot of just being lazy and reading, and we went out to eat at one of my favorite breweries in the state. It was just a really great bookish trip. You're gonna see footage throughout this of what we did, and so I read 2 books on the trip, and then I also got a lot more progress in Babbel. I'm reading that really slowly, so you probably heard about me talk about it throughout other vlogs or things this month, but I am about a quarter of the way through Babbel, and I'm loving it. It will probably be like a top book of all time for me so far. It's just beautifully written, and it has a lot of commentary that's making me think about the power of words and the power of language. And I have a historian background. My focus in history was medieval and age of exploration from the viewpoint of how people are oppressed, and then how the oppressors' views are what dominate. So through colonialism and imperialism, so we as a white people force ourselves onto indigenous people, and we've taken over territories back in the time thinking that we're expanding our empire, but really we're oppressing a group of people. So I'm loving this aspect of Babbel, but it comes at it from the power of language, and is making me think about why is English the dominant language in our world? And it's just super fascinating. So if you like dark academia, it's misbranded as a fantasy. There's some magical elements, more magical realism, but I would not call it that. I would definitely go with the dark academia vibe to describe this over a fantasy. And I think that might be a disservice, because I think the people who have picked it up that don't like it is because they expected a fantasy. So I do want to disclaim that. I'm only a quarter of the way in. And then I read Take the Lead by Alexis Daria. And that was an e-galley I got through NetGalley, and I believe St. Martin's Press or Avon Books, but whatever, regardless, it's being re-released. So this was Alexis Daria's first romance novel, and I think it came out in 2014. It's being re-released now with different covers, and it is essentially a romance that occurs on a Dancing with the Stars type television show, and I really did enjoy it. It was probably a 3-star read. I love how open door she writes her romances, so if that's your thing, that is a really good one. But it also just had a really fun dynamic if you like Hollywood themed romances or celebrity type vibes, because there's a little bit behind the scenes, with Dancing with the Stars that made it a really fun read. And then I also read this book called Alone, and I would not have read it. I didn't bring it. One girl was reading it we have a friend who like brought some books for us, and she told my friend Amber, who teaches elementary, like, you need to read this book. So she read it, and it's a novel in verse. It's middle grade, and it's called Alone. And then she was like flipping through it. So then she gave it to my friend Marty, who she read it. And then I was like, fine, I'll read it. It's a novel in verse. And I've talked about my friend Amber before, but when she recommends middle grade books, I listen because I've always liked what she's recommended. They always rip my heart out. But this book is essentially, it's about a little girl who is 12. And her parents are divorced, and she and her friends want to have a slumber party. So she tells her mom she's at her dad's house, and her dad she's at her mom's house, and they go to like her grandparents' apartment, who are like snowbirds and they don't live in the apartment at the time. And then right before it happens, right before the sleepover is supposed to happen, her friends bail on her. So she doesn't go, they don't come, but she still goes to her grandmother's house. And then in the middle of the night, people are knocking on the door and they're doing like an evacuation, but she's a little girl alone. She's scared. She doesn't do anything. She wakes up and the entire like town is totally evacuated, and she doesn't know why. And it becomes this story for like 3 years, I believe, of her surviving and not knowing what happened, not knowing where her family is, hoping her family comes back. And as my friend Amber says, the ending is the end of the book. Like when it ends, when you find out what happens, the book just ends. I was just riveted for a middle grade book. There were some plot holes, which is why it ultimately was not a 5-star for me. I put it at a 4. But as far as middle grade and riveting good books, like I was so pleasantly surprised by this. And it was a treat and a really fast read if you're just looking for kind of a book to kind of just sink into and get through in a day. Definitely recommend. Okay, so from shop hopping, hitting all the bookstores that we hit, I only bought one book for myself that I'm going to share. I did buy some books for my son, and then I bought some like t-shirts and just other bookish things, but the only book I got is the January 6th report. I have obviously a history background, so I'm talking about it in this video, but I also have a political science degree, and then I'm a lawyer. So January 6th is a terrible day that happened in our history, and the hearings are super important to watch as an American, but then this is just the written report of the January 6th congressional hearings. And the Pantsuit Politics podcast, which is a podcast I'm very involved with, they're reading through this as a book club, and so I finally grabbed my copy. But it's like truly wonderful, lots of citations, and just really well done. So I'm very excited to go through this. And then, like I said, I had a friend who gave us some books. So I got The Kitchen Front, Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo, which I'm going to be doing a vlog on Ninth House and Hellbent at some point because I haven't read either of them. And then, look how big this book is. The Priory of the Orange Tree. I have been getting some like swag through my Illumicrate boxes, and I haven't read this, and I've heard really good things about it, and so I'm excited to read this. One of my friends was like, yeah, Kelsey, it's big, but it's not as big as Crescent City, and so that made that less intimidating to me. And like the words, it is very similar to Crescent City sized font. So, and then right before I left, I got an ARC. Tessa Bailey's Secretly Yours. I love Tessa Bailey, but a lot of people don't. If you don't like open door romances, she's very open door. She's also the queen of dirty talk, which one of my friends on this trip, Marty, cannot stand her for that reason. And so it's just a joke in our group. But I am excited because those are the books that kind of all became because of my trip, and so I figured I'd throw them in this video as well. But yeah, so that was our girls trip. It was super fun. We do it every year, and I'm really glad that I was able to share it as a vlog this year. I just thought it was super fun content, and I recommend it, like just getting together with bookish friends, because we would do like reading sprints. On Saturday when we were just being lazy, we were like, okay, we're gonna read till noon and do a 45-minute sprint. So we were all actually reading, and it was just very relaxing. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching this video. And I hope you can sometime find a group of people to do a reading retreat with, because it's wonderful. And as always, please be sure to like and comment. And if you enjoy this channel, please subscribe, because it does help me. And until the next video, bye.